Okay. I'm noticing I'm having some sound issues. I don't think anyone can hear me right now. What is testing the sound? Is it working? Is the sound working? Oh, it's working. Great. All right. So the little thing played me, said that it wasn't working, but in reality, it definitely is. So, what type of projects, what type of projects should we be listening or working on to build our portfolio? That's the question that we have right here in front of us. And let's make sure that we answer this question. So, first, I'm not sure how many of you want the BS approach. Like the BS approach is just, oh, build your applications, whatever applications that you're working on, build that application. You're working on a course, build that course out. When you finish that application, you'll do well. But in reality, the things that you really want to focus on is you shouldn't really even be thinking about projects. You should be focusing on impact. What impact can I make in the world around me or with people? What impact can I make? So is it something to do with my community? Is there a task that I can automate that makes it, this tedious task makes it like I don't even have to think about it anymore, or somebody else doesn't have to think about that task anymore? We should be thinking about those lines. What type of problems are we solving? Because that's what software engineers are. They're not just coders. We're not just coders. We're actually problem solvers. We see issues and then we find a solution for it. Like Netflix saw an issue with Blockbuster and how people were so annoyed by it. And so they came up with a solution. Uber, right, came up with a solution when if you're not in an area that has a lot of taxis, for example. So, what is a problem that we can solve using technology? That's the first thing that we should be addressing or thinking about. We should be like, those cookie cutter projects, the tutorial projects, how to build a to do list, weather app, any of those. I've seen some boot camps that have you finish with like a to do list or a boot camp, and people spend thousands of dollars to do kind of like stuff like that. And that should not be the case. You should be building something that makes a lasting impact, that is serious, and it's going to give you real world experience by building those things. If you're building like a little to-do list, a little weather app, and then you're done, and then you're going and putting on your resume, you master React, and you're a Next.js developer, all of that stuff, you're going to get hit by the real world. And because the projects are much deeper than that. The decisions in terms of design, system design, and the approach that a lot of these companies have when they're building their applications are so much more complex, and you're not going to run into any problem nearly as close by working on these like cookie cutter type of projects. Not to mention that hundreds of thousands of people will have that same cookie cutter to-do list, that same cookie cutter what Reddit clone, whatever app it is that that's a cookie cutter, that maybe a tutorial you see online or whatever the case is telling you to build. That should not be it. Also, that doesn't show your personality, right? A to-do list, what does that tell me about who you are as an individual? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. A weather app, what does that tell me about your are you a meteorologist? Like what are you? What are you? Your project should speak to who you are as an individual as well. If your project can't, if I can't find out who you are, or I can't see anything about this, if I so for example, one of the projects that I was working on that helped me get into the industry, it was a project that would help connect other developers together in order for them to learn. It was a massive project. I had a back end. I had obviously I had a front end. I had everything put together. User authentication. I have a hard time saying that word. I had that. I had profiles. I had all the whole nine. Everything that you would expect when you log into a program. Everything. I had it all. Chat features, calendars, all of that stuff. And by building that, it not only showed my employer or my future employer at the time that one, I'm serious about it and I know how to do the job. I know how to problem solve, because obviously when you're building a project on that type of scale, there's going to be infinite amount of problems that popped up, and there were a lot of problems that popped up, and I had no one to really help me. I had no one to go to and say like, oh, this is what I can do, or this is what you should do. You should focus on this documentation. Maybe this will help you out. I had none of that. None of that. No assistance. I had to figure it out on my own. And so what did that show my employers, my future employer? It showed grit. It showed know-how. It showed also my personality, the fact that I was so like willing to help other people. And I leveraged that experience and leveraged the code that I coded to be able to get that type of position, to land that job, actually. So again, throw out that whole BS idea about like, these tutorial projects. If anything, if you haven't learned anything by me by now, you know that I'm not a fan of tutorials. Like, it's great to get started, but don't go down that slippery slope. Because the only reason is because I went down that slippery slope for months. And I thought I was learning something. And I really wasn't learning anything. I couldn't do anything on my own. Nothing. And then I built a blackjack game. I built a blackjack game all by myself, and that was hard. That was hard. Building a blackjack game all by myself was very, very hard. It was just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, no frameworks or anything like that. But the fact that I was able to do that all by myself without any help, without any guides online, I'm saying no help whatsoever, that was a real project. However, that's not a portfolio piece project. It's great. It gave me a lot of confidence, but it's not a project that you show employers. Honestly, it's not that. So as we're going through what we're going to do, we're trying to avoid these generic problems, or projects rather. We're trying to solve real world problems. And if you are not creative enough, you're just like, oh, Dave, I can't figure it out. I don't know. I'm not that creative. I can't solve. I don't know what real world problems there are, and my coding skills are just so low. I don't have confidence in my coding ability to be able to do those things. Well, there's still a way. There's still a way for you to be able to make a difference, to make an impact in society, and still get the recognition that you would deserve as to have a project under your portfolio. And that's helping other people code their projects. So there's a whole bunch of other developers, like developers that are getting paid, developers that are not getting paid, aspiring developers as well. They're building projects and they're asking other people for help, but they can't pay. They don't have enough to pay other developers for a full-time position, maybe because that project is still so new. It's still so new. There's no money behind it. There's nobody that signed up for it. Maybe it's just like a work for a charity, whatever the case may be. There are projects out there that need help. They need developers to help them. And if you get on some projects with developers with a couple years of experience or decades of experience, they'll be able to, not necessarily fully take you under their wing, but they'll be able to help you out and point you to the right directions, especially if you're helping them complete their project. They're definitely going to help you, right? And this is called contributing to open source. You might have heard this from other YouTubers, or you might have heard this from if you got an instructor in a boot camp, wherever, like contributing to open source. This is real world experiences. It usually, if it's a developer that has years of experience, their workflow is going to be very accurate to what you would see in an actual work environment, like an actual dev environment. Like when you're working with other developers, you're gonna have to do PRs, you're gonna have to do pull requests, right? It's gonna be your code is gonna have to be reviewed as well, right? So when we're contributing to these open source projects, basically, open source sounds kind of scary. We're just helping other developers. That's all we're doing. We're helping them complete their projects. And then we get recognition for helping. Our picture gets uploaded, our name is there, and then we can actually say we helped build that application. I believe Reddit was started off as an open source project. I believe it started off as open source, and so people were just contributing to it. Android, if you're a mobile developer, Android is open source. The whole operating system of Android for phones are how do you say, open source. So meaning that you can help Google code, or you can make your own version of Android. Very, very, very possible to do those types of things. All you would have to do is go to Google and you would just search open source projects. And they will give you a list of open source projects. And all you have to do is go through that list and find any projects that are interesting to you. You can search by specific categories. If you're interested in, I don't know, basketball, maybe there might be some basketball related apps or websites that are looking for developers to contribute to. Whatever your hobbies are, whatever your hobbies are. And it doesn't need to be, you don't need to be the best developer. Again, they're just looking for help. So don't degrade yourself or devalue yourself. Don't put yourself down. This is something that you definitely can do. 100%. You definitely can do this. And as you're doing all of this, so we're avoiding these generic projects. We don't want to be with the crowd. The crowd is doing what crowds do. They just gather, they flock together, and they talk about, oh, I built that app too. Oh, I built this app as well. Oh, let me see your version of the app. We're trying to stay away from those to-do lists, those weather. We're trying to steer clear of those. We're trying to solve actual problems. And if we can't solve actual problems, then we're going to start contributing towards open source. And not to mention, you can have your own project and ask for other developers to help you. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend it that way just because the way that you're going to set up things are probably not going to be as fluid and it's not going to be the same system as companies would have it. So you might want to, if you're going to contribute to open source, you might want to actually contribute to those open source projects, and you get to learn more about branching and local environment versus the dev environment, staging and production. You get to learn more about those things by working with developers who have experience, and they're going to have the right systems in place. So that would be a much, much better way of going about that. The other thing and the last thing that I will touch on that you absolutely should be doing, you should be documenting your process. This is slept on. You should be making an account on Instagram or YouTube or wherever, X, Twitter, LinkedIn. I don't know, LinkedIn accounts. And you should be documenting. If you don't want to do your face, don't do YouTube. Maybe don't do Instagram, or you can and just not show your face. YouTube, you probably just don't do it, right? But you need to be showing that you are somebody who is in this space, who knows what they're doing, and just have a whole backlog of posts that if somebody was to pull up your name, they just see all the stuff that you talk about, all the stuff that you've learned over the years, over the last 6 months. They'll be able to see that this person is serious about coding, especially if you're on LinkedIn, because everybody is looking up each other on LinkedIn anyway. So they're going to look up your profile. And then if the last 6 months you've been teaching about this deep concept or all the problems that you've been running into, be honest with your problems too. Don't lie about them. Everybody has problems. Everybody runs into problems. It's about how we solve them, right? So showing that, hey, I had this problem, I couldn't figure this out, but then boom, I got it. And I realized this. I was walking my dog, and then boom, I was taking a shower, and then boom. Like, have those conversations, be authentic, be real. And the employer will notice that, because guess what? They had those same experiences too. And they still have those same experiences. Okay. So what we want to continue to do is continuously learn, continuously adapt. Do we want feedback? We're going to be looking for other developers. We're going to be documenting everything that we're learning. We're documenting the documentation for our projects, right? We're documenting those projects. We're growing. Get away from those cookie cutter projects. Okay. Get away from those cookie cutter projects. Thank you. And thank you for the comments, though. Thank you. So with that, that's gonna be the end of our live. Looking forward to meeting you guys for tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna be talking about, let's see. We're gonna be going over boot camps versus self-study. All right. So share with a friend if you found this helpful, and I'll be seeing you guys. Peace.